All right, guys, where'd it go? I wanted to give you a little guidance let me find it, where'd it go? There it is. A little guidance on this project since I'm not here today, and I want you guys to get started and kind of get going with it a little bit. But what we're going to do is you guys are going to pick an infectious disease infectious disease of some sort, whether it be viral, bacterial, a protist, a worm, whatever you decide. I don't care. You guys have the computers. You can look up any type of infectious disease you want and kind of see which one interests you and which one you would want to do. So the introduction says we will investigate infectious disease more broadly via a research project to familiarize yourself with what issues are relevant to think about when discussing an infectious disease. You will choose an infectious disease and prepare a presentation that discusses what the microbe does to our bodies, how we treat the disease, and how social, economic, and political factors affect our ability to deal with the disease. Now that's going to impact some diseases more than others. Like if somebody wants to do COVID, man, the social and economic and the political factors of COVID, you're going to have a lot more to talk about than if you pick from the PowerPoint we did the other day, the New Guinea worm. Like there's not a lot like there is over in that country, maybe somewhat, but nothing near like what COVID, or if you think back into the 80s, what HIV did, and the politics surrounding that. So some diseases are going to have more of a social, economic, and political impact than others. Now, if you want to pick one that does that, those tend to be the one that are a little bit more controversial as far as obviously politics. But anyways, you are going to I would suggest not doing PowerPoint and just doing Google Slides, and do a Google Slides, and then you're going to present this to us coming up in the near future. I've not figured out an exact date yet, and it kind of depends on, I don't know, how things go, how the research goes, to see how long we need. So the project format, you're going to choose an infectious disease, and that's what I really want you guys to focus on today, a disease caused by a microbe. This does not include diseases such as cancer, autoimmune conditions. Like I know there are some viruses that can cause cancers, but you can't pick cancer because cancer you cannot catch. I cannot catch cancer. Or like if I saw somebody with skin cancer, I can't go catch skin cancer from them. All right, autoimmune conditions, those you cannot catch. Yes, they may be genetically passed along, but if somebody has an autoimmune disease, I can't go catch that from them. Heart disease, anything like that. It has to be something that is passed on by a microbe. You will need to research potential topics if you do not know one that you're immediately interested in. So if you're not sure what you want to do, go to Google and type in infectious diseases. Type in major viruses or major outbreaks in the world, because those might be some of the ones that are a little bit easier to research. I've seen some people in the past do some infectious disease that wasn't, like they were really interested in it, and that's great, that's fine, you can do that, but they did have a little bit harder time kind of finding information out on it. So once again, just things to take into consideration. I want you guys to do something you're going to enjoy though. The project products. You may choose one of the following: PowerPoint presentation or a poster presentation. I really, really prefer that you guys do just a Google Slides, because that's going to be so much easier. I used to do in chemistry and biology, let people do posters, and I found that kids would push it off and not get it done, like the kids that were in here working on a PowerPoint. Literature cited. Any information that is not common knowledge, either directly quoted or paraphrased, must be credited to the proper source. So right now, since I'm not here, what I want you to do is that if you have researched, like if you get some research done today, copy and paste that website. Put that in your slides or pull up a Google Docs and copy and paste it and put it there so you know to go back to it, and we can later work on that works cited page. So don't think that we're not going to have a works cited. We are, and I'm going to expect you guys that through your presentation, if you have a slide and you got that information from the CDC, you need to have that on that slide. All right, some credible sources, and incredible sources only. Guys, there is so many. I mean, I could be like, I think COVID is is not that harmful. And I can go and find scientists that say, or people that call themselves scientists or whatever, say, yeah, it's not that harmful. But I could be like a person that says, oh no, it's the worst thing in the world. And I can go and find stuff that says that too. We need to make sure that we're going to credible sources. Science.gov, CDC.gov, the NIH, the National Institute of Health, Science Daily, Scientific American, Discovery. These are all web links. If they have a .gov behind them especially, the World Health Organization, oh gosh, I'm trying to think of the other one. I've got some others I could tell you, but USAMRIID, United States Army, those are going to be reliable. Make sure you're getting reliable sources. Journals, any type of journal, a scientific journal is going to be good. Now the project timeline, like I said, I've kind of left it blank here. If you guys are researching and truly working, and I can see that, then I'm going to give you the time that you need. But eventually I'm going to put a cap on this, and I'll let you guys know that kind of as I see how things are going. The project content, the cause of the disease. What type of microbe causes your disease? Now microbes only include living organisms, and we know that viruses are not considered living, or it's argued by scientists whether they are or not. So here's 3 different things you can have. If it's a microbe, it could be a bacterium. So what are the characteristics of the cell? So a bacteria can be gram-negative or positive, and we will eventually do notes that talk about that. But what does that mean? So you're going to have to research that. If you decide to do like the plague, that was a bacteria. So you're going to have to look that up on Google and be like, okay, is it gram-positive or gram-negative? And then figure out and tell us what that means. Put that in your slideshow. What kind of shape is it? Because a lot of bacteria are based on their shape. And the arrangement, and then metabolic capabilities, just type in like metabolic capabilities of this into Google, and you're going to get things that come up. If it is a eukaryote, is it a fungus? Because we do have things that, like fungal, you could do ringworm if you wanted to. That's a fungal eukaryote. Is it an algae? Because there are some algae that can cause harm. Is it a protist? Some protists can do if you drink water and you get protists, like down in Mexico or somewhere, and you get diarrhea. Platyhelminthes is a nematode, so these are roundworms. This is a flatworm here. Just let us know, what is it? Is it multicellular or unicellular? And what's its life cycle? And that means, okay, like there are I'm just gonna throw one out there, trichinosis. Its life cycle is it forms cysts in meat, and then you eat the raw meat, and the cyst hatch and forms a worm, and then you go to the bathroom, and then if pig or any kind of animal gets it, and then the cysts form in muscles, and then if people eat that muscle tissue, and it's like this vicious cycle. So knowing the life cycle. Number 4, if it's a virus, is it a DNA or an RNA virus? And what does that mean? What's it mean of DNA and RNA virus? And what shape is the virus? Because viruses can be different shapes too. The history. So once again, on the cause of the disease, you're picking 2, 3, or 4. You don't have to do all of those. It's just if you have a bacteria, you're going to do number 2. If it's a eukaryote, you're going to do number 3. And if it's a virus, you're going to do number 4. On the history, how has our understanding of the disease developed over time? So these you will do. You'll do all 1, 2, 3, and 4. Everybody will. Describe the changes in our knowledge and attitude. What did we first know? Did we know nothing? We just, oh my gosh, there's a new disease. And then what did we learn over time? Who discovered the disease or the pathogen? How long have we known about this disease? When did this first start? How has our understanding of the disease developed over time? Discuss major shifts in our understanding of the disease since it was discovered. Even right now, like what did we know about COVID versus what we know now? And you can pick that if you want. Now, I don't want everybody doing COVID. You're going to pick one, like you're going to pick a topic and nobody else can do that topic. So I'm going to have a sign-up sheet on Google Classroom that you guys will have to fill out and let me know what disease you want to do. And you can change that. If you're like, I want to do this disease, and the more you start researching and you're like, oh, I don't think so. But I want to make sure like that gets under control within like the first or second class period of researching. By class period 2 at the end, I want to know what you're going to do. Epidemiology, describe the prevalence and transmission. So where in the world is this? Is it everywhere? Is it only in Africa? Is it in third world countries? How many people are currently infected? What is the rate of new infections? What are the rates of morbidity and mortality? What is the reservoir of the pathogen? So that could be something like a mosquito could be the reservoir. That could be like what passes it along, or maybe it's just humans. What is the mode of transmission? So is it passed along through like droplets, air droplets? Is it passed along by mosquitoes or an animal? Like, how is it passed? Pathology, describe the pathogenic effects on cells, tissues, and organ systems. So this whole section is what does it do to our body? Where in the body does the pathogen affect? And it might infect the whole body, or it might just it just affects the lungs. What damage does the pathogen inflict? How is the damage inflicted? Is there direct mechanical damage? Is there a toxin? Like a lot of bacteria, there's toxin. If you get food poisoning, that's because of the toxin released from the bacteria. Does the immune response cause damage? Because sometimes your own immune system can cause inflammation, which will then cause damage for you. What is the time sequence of the disease? So basically length of incubation, just like COVID. If you look at COVID, they have some timelines here. So that's what we're looking at for all the diseases. Like, what is the time frame? Like, I had COVID. When did I possibly get that? I started showing symptoms on this day, but how far back could it have went? Once I show symptoms, how long does it go? That's what we're looking at. And then what are the major signs and symptoms that you have this disease? Response and treatment, describe the activity of our immune system against the pathogen. So once it's in your body, what's your own immune system doing? And then, do we have medical treatment? Describe how the treatments affect the progression of the disease. So if there is a vaccine, what does the vaccine do? Does it stop it immediately, or does it just kind of lessen the the symptoms you have? So just the response and the treatment. Socio-political economic. This one is sometimes the one kids kind of struggle with the most, because not everything we tend to think about, especially if it's a disease that's not real prevalent, it may not affect us a lot, but like Ebola, it does not affect us a lot. But go over to Africa and there are places that it has affected them. It has hurt them bad, socioeconomic, the money-wise, it's hurt them. So you're really going to have to look at that. Who has it hurt? So describe any historic or present-day social, economic, or political issues that either help or hinder us in limiting the spread of the disease. Suggest 2 policies and practices that can be employed to help with limiting the spread of the disease. For each policy and practice, describe what will be needed. So this is you guys. There is no right or wrong answer there. What do you think? This is kind of what do you think could help this? And then extending your thinking. Generate at least 2 questions not on the list above that this research caused you to think of regarding your disease, and use your resources to answer them. So this can happen a lot of times while you're researching. You could be researching, I've seen kids do it so many times, they'll start reading stuff and they'll be like, hey, but what about this? And that could be one of your questions. So keep that in mind the whole time that you're researching. Is there another question that you're like, I wonder if, or I wonder what would happen if this, like that could be your extended your thinking there. Based on your research, what do you predict the future threat of this disease will be? That is, to what degree will this disease continue or not continue to affect the health of humans? What do you predict? No right or wrong answer. So this extending your thinking, there are no right or wrongs. So just keep those in mind as you're researching. Here is the actual, how you're going to get your points. All right, so you can read through them. I'm not going to read through all of it. Make sure that there is the presentation of the slides and poster, the use of pictures, links, or video clips. So you can add video clips in there. So kind of make sure that you're doing all this. Remember that you're going to be getting up and you're going to be presenting this disease to the class. So make it easy for you to read, make it easy for you to understand, so that you can help us when you're telling it to us. All right, guys, I will be back tomorrow. So if you have any other questions, you can ask me then. And I'll answer whatever you have, and we'll be working on this again tomorrow. All right, so have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow.